Yeah, thanks for stopping by again. So we'll continue where
Yes.
I think I stopped. So I did mention that we can't outsource our parenting. I did
Yeah.
mention the significance and importance of being there for our children. I did say that I was going to say a number of things that we've heard before. However, you might be hearing it from a different perspective tonight. So
Mm.
with my daughter, it was a lot of intentionality. I wanted that bond. I needed that bond. It was something that I planned. So it wasn't a coincidence that we were very close. It's not a coincidence that we're the right match, we're the right fit. People need to
Mm.
understand that parenting is not innate. You're not born to be a good father. You're not born to be a good mother. You hear people say you are a
Mm.
natural mother. You can naturally,
Yeah.
it's a natural thing. Why do people have post-traumatic stress disorder? Why do they get depressed when they have children sometimes? And they are forced. Many people, they don't even know they're depressed because there's a lot of overwhelm around them. People come around when they have children, all sorts of oh God is happening here, grandmother, this and that, all sorts of things are happening at the same time. And a lot of women, they can't cope. A lot of
Mm.
men and women need to learn how to parent children. It's important that we understand that it's not innate, it's not something that comes naturally, especially parenting a Gen Z or Alpha Gen child. We have to understand
Yeah.
that it's completely different. Now, I gave the example of a lady, I don't know if you heard that part, where she's a granny and she mentioned online how she used to beat her own children and that all the things that people like me are teaching, they're
Yeah.
rubbish, and that she used to beat her
Wow.
children and that she had about 6, 7 children and that it works. And
Mm.
the video went viral that the beating works, that children love her and respect her and all sorts of things. And then I respect her own views. That's what worked for her. This lady is
Mm.
significantly older than I am. The way she parented her children worked for her own children. They don't work for our own children in this generation.
In this
These
generation. Yeah.
children, they know significantly more. There's a lot more exposure at
Yeah.
this time. That's why they question you, because they are born to be critical thinkers. They are born to be children that ask questions. They are curious and they are more confident in this generation. And they are even
Mm.
taught in schools because it's a 21st century skill to question, to
Yeah.
problem solve, to fact find, to do
Yeah.
your research. It's
Mm.
the beating and the shouting that people have done to their children, criticizing them, demeaning them, comparing them to other people. They may think it worked, but the reason why the country, for example, Nigeria, is in the mess that we are in today is because a lot of
Yeah.
broken people are the people that are in leadership. A lot of broken people
Mm.
are the ones that are trying to fix things. And you can't pour from
That's
an empty.
profound.
You
That's
can't pour.
profound.
If the beating and shouting worked so well, then why do we have a broken nation? Why do we have
Mm.
so many problems in the country? You know, they said eternity is doing the same thing and expecting the same results. They may
Yeah.
have gotten those results, but we can see how now what the country is like. You can see the level of promiscuity. You can see the level of commitment or non-commitment of many parents to their families. Any small thing they
Mm.
want to bail out. A lot of people are hooked on drugs. A lot of people have several addictions: pornography, masturbation, drugs, social media, friendships, buying clothes. You know, there's so many addictions that people have these days. And the reason they have them are they are coping mechanisms for them. They help them
Mm.
to cope from the trauma that they have experienced in their childhood. So the
Mm.
average adult might have the wife or the husband, the car, the house, the job, and you see them and the parents will be very proud and say, oh, my child is doing very well. That child goes into their home or their office, closes the door, and behind them, what are they doing? They are on
Yeah.
drugs, you know,
Mm.
they have one addiction or the other. To help them cope with the trauma, to help them cope with the pain that they have been inflicted whilst they're growing up. And you still see people that will tell you that, oh, they beat me very well and I turned out all right. And I keep saying, what is the definition of turned out all right? What if you
All
weren't beat?
right.
What if you were loved some more? See,
Mm.
we have taught to associate pain with love. We have
Mm.
been taught to associate pain as love. And that is why when pain is inflicted on certain spouses, they will say, he loves me, that's why he beats me.
That's amazing. That's amazing. What you said now just helped me to connect a dot. Sometimes you wonder why certain people stay in abusive relationships, and of course, I know it's. I've worked with couples, and I know it's a difficult situation to be in. But sometimes you wonder, why is it that somebody would be in an abusive relationship that goes to the extent of being physically abusive, and somewhere, at the back of their mind, they still believe that this person loves me. Usually women are, on the receiving end. And then what you said now makes me realize that sometimes the connection is that even as kids, they were actually abused by their parents, and they just, they just came
They've
to accept it, that exactly
normalized
normalized
that.
it.
They've
Yeah.
normalized that. They believe that it is the way to go. That there's no other way. If your parents love you, they would always beat you. They will shout at you. They will do all things. And I'm a
Wow.
product of. I'm a child that was not beaten at all. I'm also a
Wow.
child that. I'm also a child that didn't beat her own child.
Mm.
So you find that when people have normalized abuse, that is what this is in them, and that's what they know how to do. Now, what we're
Yeah.
suggesting now is to parent so that you can have those emotional connections. To parent in such a way that you can build a healthy connection with your children. It takes time. It can't be done overnight. It takes patience. It takes your presence. But people want to get things done. They want microwavable parenting. They just give some instructions or put some money down and go out and get a houseboy, house girl, driver, this and the other, and they expect that everything is going to be okay. It doesn't work that way. No matter how much the resources are that you have. Parenting is not about resources. There are people that do not have a lot of resources, but they have those emotional connections with their children. You see people that they don't have the patience, they don't have the time. Now, we talk about digital era, we talk about all sorts of things that you put down on the list to talk about, but you find that a lot of the parents themselves cannot get out of social media. They can't leave social media. And they cannot explain to their children, they can't convince their children that they're not addicted to social media. If you're not able to convince your child that you're not addicted to social media, how are you going to get your child to get off social media?
To get off
A lot
social
of
media.
people use the devices to parent their children. It's easy. It's the easy way. That there's something called lazy parenting. Where you just give them a device and they will shut up. Give them a device and they're going to shut up. Give them, smack them and they will behave. All those sort of things. But it takes a while. And people always assume that you must give a child a device. I give the example that I saw recently. When the Queen died, I watched the burial and all the processions and all the things that, well, I didn't watch all, but I watched some of it. But one thing, obviously, I want to get key into the parenting aspects. And then you see that the children that were involved, the royalties that were involved, the grandchildren, they came to the procession. Did you see them screaming and shouting there? Did you see them with iPads or devices so that they can calm down?
Wow.
Or do you think they were drugged to behave? These are royalty. These are royalty.
And we're talking about a ceremony that was on for a while.
It was an extended ceremony.
Extended ceremony, exactly.
They were well comported.
Behaved.
They behaved themselves. The training had gone into them. Now, the average Nigerian child or any other child around the world, the mother is already going to maybe only one service. Biscuits, sweets, chewing-gum, this, that, iPad. And you pack the whole thing so that you can numb the child. You can get that child to be connected to that device such that they don't disturb. And in doing that, you're killing their brain. You're killing their creativity. You're killing their ability to think critically. So that's not what you should be doing. You should be able to get your child to be able to do things, to produce. You see, our children are consumers. They're mainly consumers. What we do generally is to download. Even Nigerians are generally, if you go to YouTube, you'll find that they are downloading this, downloading that, downloading this. How many are we uploading? How many are we uploading? And we're now teaching our children also to continue to consume. So they're not using their brains effectively enough. They're not doing the things that they ought to be doing the way they ought to be doing it. And that is the fault of the parents. Because a lot of parents are children themselves. They're not ready to parent these children. They're not ready to go the long haul. It is challenging to parent. But if you make a decision that I want to do this, I want to parent my child properly, you would find that you will get it done. A lot of people will say, oh, a community raises a village and blah, blah, blah. It's a statement that you have to put a caveat around it these days. A community cannot raise your child if they don't share the same values. I'll say that again. A community cannot raise your child if they do not share the same values. So some people say, oh, when I was growing up, if you do something, they will beat you, and your mother will come back and beat you, and all those sort of things. If you want a community to raise your children, you have to find and create your own community these
Your own
days,
community.
and they will share your values. There are some people that will correct my child, and I mean, I don't even expect that my child will be one that they will be correcting outside. Praise God. Anyway, I've already passed that stage. I've already done. You know, people will say by the time your child is 18, that's when you will know the report card. That's when you will know how well you've trained your child. But the thing is, even at 16, sometimes even 13, a lot of people, even 7 years old, their children are gone. And gone in the sense that they've already put them in boarding houses. They are doing their own thing in boarding houses. You come back, they'll come back for a couple of weeks, and go. The minute you send your child to boarding house, that's it. Let me just tell you, that's it. If you like, console yourself, that's it. I went to boarding house when I was about 11 years old, and that was it. You can now decide that, okay, let me teach my child this later on, let me connect in this way, let me connect in that way. Whatever you want to do, that one is your own coping mechanism. But the reality is that once you send them away, 16-year-olds now in the UK, and a lot of people want to jackpot. A 16-year-old can have an abortion without the parents knowing. They can be on the pill without the parents knowing. They can impregnate a girl without the parent knowing. They can begin to transition their gender without the parent knowing. They can do so many things. They are empowered to that level. This is at 16. So you can just imagine the power that they have. And then you're telling me that it is beating that will work for them. It's not beating.
Let me come in. Let me come in here. There are so many questions that are in my head, but let me start from here. How were you able to, because before a child clocks even 13, before they become teenagers, you know, as they become adolescents, there is a transition in parenting style that should occur where you should switch to becoming their friends or becoming their coach. How were you able to make that switch? You know, when your daughter, you know, was, let's say, when she crossed the 10 mark, because what you're saying is by the time a child is 13, 14, 15, 16, whatever you've not been able to imbibe in that child, you may as well forget it. How were you able to establish that connection?
It's not 14, 15, 16, no. 9, 10. It's not 14, 16, they're already teen. You see, what we had as puberty, pre-teens, those days, 12, 13.
Yeah, it's different from.
It needs to be revised now. So it's now.
It's actually been revised. Yeah.
It needs to be revised. So it's not the same thing. So if you are waiting till 14, 16, you've already lost that child. Now, with my daughter, there are boundaries that need to be set. There are boundaries. So your child understands you. Your child understands your personality, and you the same. You understand the child's love language, and you almost understand that these love languages, they are not necessarily there to stay forever. They move. They're not static. So your love language, at some point, my love language was quality time. I wanted people to spend, well, not people, but the significant people in my life to spend a lot of time with me. That was my love language at a particular point in time. By the time I moved to Nigeria, I got very busy with my work, with the school, with everything that I was doing. My love language was not quality time. I didn't have time for quality time. So it cannot even be my quality. It just wasn't in. What was it instead? It was acts of service. So if somebody was doing something for me and making my work progress and the burden lighter, that person was the first person I would fall in love with. Do you understand what I mean? So with your child, you have to understand their love language. You have to understand that it's transitional and it changes as well. You have to understand that the thing that there's this big argument all around home and abroad about your child being your friend. Oh, you have to parent, you're not supposed to be your child's friend. In this generation, there has to be an element of friendship with your child, because when you have healthy rapport, see, in the presence of good rapport, all things are possible. In the presence of rapport, all things are possible. If you're too strict and heavy-handed on the children, sometimes they will have to make assumptions for you. So they get into trouble in school and they're already saying, oh, my mom is going to kill me. My dad is going to kill me. And bear in mind that many Nigerian children have jackpot and gone to say that they're going to beat me. Don't tell my mom, they're going to beat me. And social services have been at their door. So that happens. I just want to drop that in because I know that my audience is, and perhaps yours, the jackpot type of people. And a lot of people are using that. Social services are on their case, visiting them all the time because of statements they've made. They've not necessarily said beat their children, but the fact that you actually made a threat, whether it's empty, whether it's not empty, they're going to get into trouble as a result. So that friendship is very, very important, because how can you not play with a 3-year-old? How can you not play with a 5-year-old? What do you want to be doing? Giving rules. How can you not play with children? Montessori says that the work of a child is play.
Is play, yeah.
If the work of a child is play, and you are there, you just want to be heavy-handed and say you are the parents, just giving rules, you begin to build a barrier. You begin to build a barrier. Children have a tank, an emotional tank, a love tank. And every time you show them love, and you're showing them love in the way that they like it, so maybe you're giving them gifts, it's their love language, acts of service, affirmations, whatever it is, hugs, you know, you're filling that tank. You're filling that tank. You're filling that tank. But when you're doing anything derogatory, shouting, beating, comparing, you're taking away from their tank. You're taking away from their tank. And a lot of our generation have grown up with near empty tanks. They're just coping. That's why you don't suddenly hear that, oh, somebody stabbed his husband, somebody stabbed the wife, somebody beats the wife, somebody. They didn't just suddenly snap. They didn't. Nobody suddenly snaps. There's a build-up. There's a build-up. There was a case of a Nigerian parent in the UK, a Nigerian child in the UK that strangled the mom as well in a hotel room when she went to visit the child. True life stories. You know, Nigerians
strangled the mom.
Yeah, she's gone. She's no longer with us, sadly. May her soul rest.
Wow.
You know, but the first thing that they will do is start saying, okay, maybe mental health challenges, you know, away now. They will start all these sort of things and all sort of things. What led to that? Because there's so many cases that we hear these days, and there are repercussions of what we have instilled in our children. So say, for example, a lot of people will just send their children abroad. They'll send their children abroad, and the children don't have the skills to cope. They are in Nigeria. They've always learned how to, what's it called? They have houseboy, house girl, driver, this, that, and the other. Then you send them to Nigeria, send them abroad and expect them to fend for themselves, get friendship groups, deal with racism. You know, they're not prepared for that kind of thing.
They're not prepared for it, yeah.
Even some of our children are not, even within our country, are not even prepared for boarding schools. That values have not been rock solid. They're not been instilled yet, and then you send them away. So that's why they have social anxiety. They have social issues, because there's a lot of trauma that a lot of people have experienced as children. So when they go out there, they're not coping at all. They're struggling. They're pretending they're smiling, you know, and they're sending pictures home, and mommy is screenshotting it and posting it and sending it to grandpa and all the whole family and whatever the case may be. But they're not coping. They're not coping. They're suffering internally. Depressed children, suicidal children, all sorts of things are happening to our children because we're not connecting with them.
With them.
My daughter has left home now. She's 16. She has left home now. But when you know that you have done your job so well, and don't convince yourself that you've done your job. Don't lie to yourself. You know, it's very easy to say, I've done my best. I've put them, for those that don't understand, I've escorted the child to
yeah.
We want to fool ourselves that we've done a good job. If you haven't done a good job as a parent, tell yourself. I know a parent that went to kneel down to her 27-year-old son to apologize for being a foolish parent, and she was willing to start again. So don't convince yourself that you are doing a good job if you are not doing a good job. Don't even say you are trying your best, because you won't tell God that you are trying your best. God did not give you that your child for you to try his best. When he gave you Jesus, he didn't give you to try. He didn't say, I'm trying my best. No, he gave you the best.
He gave us the best. Yeah.
The best.
Yeah.
You must give your children the very best. Your all. Because they were not asked to be born. The only exceptions I make is when somebody has an emotional or mental breakdown, or maybe they are incapacitated, they had an accident in one capacity or the other. But you are a regular person. You're neurotypical. Your senses are working. And you're telling me that you cannot give, you are busy. Then don't have the children. Stop rolling around in the sheets. It's not by fault. Stop conforming to society telling you that, oh, you must have 10 children, have this and that. It's better to have no children than to have 5 children and not be there for them.
But I was going to ask you a question. Somebody would argue that, okay, when we were raised, our moms had time for us. Most of our moms were not entrepreneurs in the way we have female entrepreneurs now. Most of our moms, didn't have to spend as much time at work like we have to spend now. How do I make out the time for my kids? I'm sure that's a question on the mind of a lot of people. How would you respond to that?
I would say that if it's important to you, you will make a way. And if it's not important to you, you will always find an excuse. This is a quote by, I think it's Stephen Covey or something. If it's important to you, you will find a way. And if it's not important to you, you will always find an excuse. If they tell you that for every single month, if you have time for your children and you pay attention to them, you will always get 10 million naira. Every single month, not every single month. Just even per child, that just you spend some time with them and you still go to your work, you don't leave your work, you do whatever it is that you have to do, and you will be rewarded in this capacity. If your child is Muhammad, or if your child is Jesus Christ, will you say you don't have time for your child? It's because we don't think that they are important enough. We don't know what they're going to become. So we take them for granted. If you gave birth to Jesus, will Jesus have been able to fulfill destiny? Or you would have been too busy to have time for Jesus? Think about your child. If you understand the perceptual code of your child and understand how important your child is, to me, my child is a big deal, as in a big deal, as in a big deal. And parents will say that their children are big deals, but act like your child is a big deal. If your child is a big deal, your child is needing your attention, then why are you not giving the time? Because we don't believe that they are a big deal. If you knew, like Mary, the mother of Jesus, that you are carrying the next Messiah, and if Messiah is coming to you and needing your time, you're going to say, I'm busy at work, I will not be back till 8 o'clock, we have to put food on the table. Is that what you're going to say? So the thing is that we don't respect our children, and we don't understand that they are children of God and we are only mere stewards. We don't understand that a lot of us don't understand who we are carrying, and a lot of us are actually truncating the destiny of our children through our actions. So I don't really empathize with people when they say they don't have time with for their children or whatever the case may be. It's case by case. Yes, I do understand, but the thing is, there's always this room of you don't have the children. I'm not talking about people that accidentally had 8 children. I can't save you there. But I'm talking about people that are deliberately populating so that they can be bragging rights. Children are not bragging rights.
They are not bragging
rights. People
rights.
must understand that your child is not a bragging right. There's nothing to brag about. And that's why people have problems with their children. The minute the child is not doing well in school, they have a problem. Anything they cannot screenshot and put on the internet is a problem for them. But if you love your child, irrespective of whether the child is doing well or not. Now, think about the story of Jesus. I use a lot of Jesus examples. When Jesus was about 12 years old, he left home for about 3 days. They were looking for him, right? They were looking for him. At that point, the typical Nigerian parent, when he found that child, what will happen?
They will reset. They will
reset that child. They will reset. That's why they didn't even kill the child. They will reset that child so much that the child in the whole year, it will never ever try it again.
It's not their, my children don't behave like this.
Yeah, exactly. And this is exactly what a lot of parents do. They reset these children. So they would they would do something. So Jesus should not have left home for 3 days and his parents were looking for him. No, he's still wrong. You shouldn't have done that. But they understood the assignment. Do you understand the assignment of your children?
The assignment. That's huge.
Well, that's feeding them. People confuse parenting with nurturing. They confuse parenting. They think parenting is food, clothing, and shelter. Anybody can give your child food, clothing, and shelter and not love your child. It can be somebody's job to give your child food, clothing, and shelter. But it cannot be somebody else's job, except they adopt the child or something like that, to love your children. It is your responsibility as the primary caregiver, whether biological or otherwise, to give the best care and love to your children. Now, what is happening? A lot of children are lacking in love. A lot of parents will tell you that their children that are bullies, they're assertive and confident. My child is very, very confident. No, your child is damn rude. That's what your child is. And they will argue with the school, they will argue with everybody, and they will say, oh, my child speaks this and that and the other. But the problem is, no, the child is looking for some kind of sense of belonging, some kind of attention seeking in different environments, because they don't get it at home.
They don't get it at home.
So they go out there and they misbehave and they do all sorts of things, and you're there defending them because you are then inadequate as a parent. And then you think, oh, if I shout at the teacher or I threaten to remove the child in the school, then a hungry school person will say, don't remove the child from the school. And I keep saying it. Our schools, education system in Nigeria is not going to change for as long as profit is what is at the front of many people. If the profit is the case, people will not align with the values of your school. So your child, a child does something and you don't want the child to face consequences, because if you discipline the child in any constructive way, the parents will come and threaten to lose
they
the
withdraw the
child.
money.
They will bring the police and everything. Until the day we say, these are the rules in the school. Sign this form. Do you agree or you don't agree? If they don't agree, then they can go. They are not a member of your school. You find that schools like that are not the fastest growing schools in Nigeria, because the rules are the rules. But you find that the children that come out of such schools are over and beyond amazing, because the values have been instilled. It was never really about the money, but the values first. Profits, yeah, schools are a business, but the values. Because I don't want to have a child come to the Poshe school and I monetize and make a lot of profit, and the children will go out and then they will say rubbish that, look at which school did they go to? My children went out, some of my pupils went out today to a radio station. The ladies from the radio station were already texting me that people are saying that, you know, it's not a shock to me. I expect them to behave well when they go out. It is an expectation. They will go out, they will speak well. Oh, they speak well. I love the addiction. It is an expectation. It's not as if it's a fluke.
Let me ask this question quickly. There's a whole lot to unpack from what you've said. Somebody asks, where do I draw the line? There's this recent scandal with the Dropbox issue. This Dropbox that they found pictures of Lagos Dropbox, naked ladies and everything, naked girls. Where do you draw the line with technology? How do you balance using technology as a tool to enhance learning and parenting, comparing that with actually substituting the role of being a parent to exposure to technology? Where do you create the balance?
You see, when people invite me for things and ask me questions like this, I will offend people. This thing will still drop to -1 now.
Please feel free to offend us. Please offend us.
The reality is that a lot of parents don't have self-esteem. And I will explain it. A lot of parents don't have self-esteem. They want to belong to every group, and they want their children to belong to every group. And that is the reality of it. Now, they can't say no to their children having devices. When my daughter was in year 6, she was pretty much the only one that didn't have a device in her class, and her self-esteem was intact because I let her understand the reason why I didn't want her to have a device. If she needed to contact anybody, please, by all means, use my phone. But I did not have a problem with her not having a device. When she now had a device, there were rules around the device. You must hand in this device at certain times. During the week, you don't have your device. You must pick up the device at a particular time. A lot of parents cannot build those rules for their children. They are afraid to hurt the feelings of their children. They are afraid of the tantrums the child is going to. If you buy this device and you have a problem in your home and you are fighting with your children because of a device, then your parenting is failing in that regard. I'll say that again. If you buy this device and it's causing problems in your family, then your parenting when it comes to digital technology is failing, because you work so hard. You use your own money to buy a device and the device is causing you problems. No, think about it. Let's think about it. You go out and then you buy maybe rice and the rice is giving you problem. It's a device, it's a tool. You are the one that's going to be able to manage it and tell it what you want to do with it when you want it to be used. I don't want it at the dinner table. I don't want you to use it in your room at any point in time. I don't want, you know what I'm saying? You create the rules. But what happens, because people now have no time for the children, they will put the rules. Some will even try and put the rules. But what will happen is that they will now bend the rules. Oh, mommy, another 30 minutes. They'll say, okay, because you too, you're just busy pressing Instagram and posting and slaying there. So because you're doing it, you now give the child more time. Next tomorrow, oh, just 1 more hour, just 1 more hour. Then you start sleeping. If anything is not managed, it's subject to abuse. If you say it is 9 o'clock, it is 9 o'clock. If you say it's 7 o'clock, it is 7 o'clock. And the same goes to bed for bedtime. And that's where parenting comes in. And you know that at that point in time, we are not friends. I'm here to parent you. And if I have to hurt your feelings at this time, so be it. But when my daughter went to secondary, went further on to further her education, by 10 o'clock, she now has access to her phone 24/7 now. But she has this habit of, I've dropped my phone. So if you call at a particular time, you will not even be able to get her in time.
You're not able to reach her.
Because it is now even in her
own immune system now to get off
She has
her phone.
imbibed it. Yeah.
It is already there. You know, it is already a habit. So you must be able to put those rules. There's no, oh, people are struggling to. When people say they're struggling with devices in it, also what the, you know, because at the end of the day, your child should not be able to control. But people can't say no to their children. They want them to be happy all the time. Your children are not designed to be happy all the time. No, nobody is designed to be happy all the time. Even Jesus was not happy all the time.
Happy all the time.
You are not happy all the time. So why do you want your children to be happy all the time? If your children are happy all the time, there's a problem. The joy of the Lord will remain with them. But there are times when no is no, and they will be unhappy about it, but they will get used to it. They will get used to it. But a lot of people cannot say no to their children. Oh, okay, 30 more minutes. Okay, oh, okay, this, that, and the other. You know, they will be pandering here and there and there. And that's where we have the problems. Then the child will start manipulating. They will start throwing tantrums. They will now begin to, because they now get addicted to the device. They addicted to the dopamine high that they get. You know, this, it's called this the digital cocaine, the social media. They get addicted. They can't get off it. Now, you that should help them are equally addicted and on a cocaine high. You are equally addicted to it. So how does a blind person lead a blind person to cross the road? How? If you are consistently on it.
What you said just now just made me realize that sometimes when as parents, and we need to look inwards really. And those of you that are on this call, you really need to look at, and I'm speaking to myself as well. Sometimes when we claim that we don't have enough time, you know, to spend with our kids, the truth is that we spend some of that time on devices. We spend some of that time on social media. We spend some of that time, you know, on YouTube and all of that. And so if you start, and this is being, you know, being the example that parents should be, if you start by cutting down some of the time that you spend on certain, you know, devices and things that, you know, you can do without, and you spend that time with them, for example, sitting down with your kids to ask, okay, so tell me what's happening, what's new in your life, who are your friends, all right, tell me, you know, what do you like about your school, you know, what challenges are you facing recently. It is easier for you to insist and put your foot down. And a lot about parenting actually is saying no, because kids have to be shown where limitations. You have to be able to draw the line, let them know that you do not go beyond this. There is a place to be their friends, there's a place for you to play with them. But there's also a significant role as a parent to draw the line as an instructor to say, no, you are not allowed to use a device beyond this time or until this age. I think that is extremely important. Let me ask this quickly. Yes, let me ask this quickly. This is about education. Now, you are a serial education entrepreneur. You're doing a fantastic, you know, work with the post schools. I saw some of the pictures of your kids, the kids from the school, and I think it was Nigeria Info, if I'm right. Nigeria Info FM today. I have a question. Some parents have this mindset that when it comes to schooling or education, it is the role of the teacher. The teachers and the principals, it is their job to educate my kids. How do you, or how do we as parents develop an educational system? Because as a family life practitioner, I know that every family should have an educational system. And the school that you choose for your parent, for your kid, should actually align with that system or the value. That you do not choose schools randomly. You need to think about the things you've observed about your kid, their strengths, their talents, and the direction in which you want them to go and you want to mold them. How does a parent build an educational system that the school becomes a part of, rather than outsourcing education entirely to the schools?
You see, I'm glad that you mentioned that. I actually do run a school, an amazing school, the very best. I'm glad that you actually mentioned that. And despite running that, and despite having a child that's gone into the educational system in Nigeria, any parent that is depending on any school, call it Harvard, call it Princeton, if you're depending solely on a school to give your child all the educational needs, then you are in gross error. You are in gross error. I have an outstanding child. Not gifted and talented. The school were thinking maybe she was gifted and talented. No, it's nurturing. What happens is when you nurture a child properly, people will start thinking that child is gifted and talented. If you just nurture the child, you're there, every need of the child, you're there for the child, then people will assume that the child is gifted and talented. You can't give anybody else full autonomy of raising your child or educating your child. There are some things that you will do with your child that school cannot do it. Yes, There are things that you would do that school cannot do it. And even if they do it, it cannot be the same as when you do it. It cannot be the same. When my daughter dances, for those that know her that she dances, she's very into media and all those sort of things. When she was young, and when we have our environmental constraints in Nigeria, there was no adequate gym that she could go so that she can learn how to dance. She didn't have that sort of thing. But in doing so, what did we do? We were able to begin to create a makeshift studio for her until we were able to get her a proper studio with the full glass and everything. With school, we go that length of, we go beyond to go to that extreme for your child. When you take your child, okay, let me give you another example that's more recent. My daughter and I went to Athens in Greece about 3 weeks ago. We were in Athens, and we were climbing the ruins of somewhere called the Acropolis, where there were wars and all sorts of things happened there. And to be honest, I didn't even have full understanding of the Acropolis. I just used to hear about Acropolis. By the time we climbed the Acropolis and read this one, read that one, listen to this audio and everything, we had a better understanding of what the Acropolis is. She's not a history student, and I'm not a history student, but we've got a history, maybe year one history or one term of history or whatever the case may be, just by experiencing, just by travel alone. So I say that to say that there are things that you will expose your child to. You might be the one at home with the sewing machine, or you're the one teaching your child how to cook. You are the one teaching your child how to code or how to fold properly or arrange their wardrobe and everything. You're not going to teach them that in school. The best they will do is Montessori, and they will give them a mat and tell them to fold it and all those sort of things. That is what is in it. That's what they have time for. Because a school is not just there for only your child. The ratios to be small. That's why we have smaller ratios at the Poshe school, so that we can reach all the children. However, there's still more than 1 or 2 children in the classroom. So at the end of the day, we must still look for time to spend with those children. You as a parent, in exposing those children and giving them those opportunities, you will educate them. You can educate your children through the books that they read. I've met one ignorant, a couple. I've met an ignorant couple before that were very angry because their child read literature that had horror in it. This child was about 9-10 years old, and there was killing and stuff like that. I don't know if I'm online. Can you still hear me? Please let me know.
Yes.
If you can still hear me. Okay, you were frozen. Okay, good. And they were very angry that their child read a book that had bloody content and stabbing and stuff like that. And this is the imagination aspect that a lot of parents try to destroy in children, because creativity and imagination are 21st century skills. There's a Nigerian girl that wrote a Nigerian best-selling book and has made millions from that. But because we are so cultural, we believe in all this sort of, don't explain evil, don't, we hide certain things. Horror is a genre of books. It's a type of literature. It's a type of writing for children. But no, we want to protect them from certain things. If you don't have horror books in the school library and your child has a wild imagination and your child is the one coming up and saying, oh, somebody was flying in the middle of the night, you don't say that child is a witch. You give that child a pen and a paper and let them begin to scribble and write and draw, and you don't know what will come out of it. But the typical African or Nigerian parents will believe, Aje, Osho, Otinshe, this, that, and the other. So they may even have those beliefs in the school that your child is saying certain things. They may even have those beliefs. But if you're close to your child, you can now give your child the opportunity to be able to display that aspect of their being, to be able to express that aspect of their being. You develop that part of them. Okay, when my daughter was growing up, she did emotional intelligence courses, she did leadership courses, she did etiquette courses. Some of the courses that I go for as an NLP practitioner, a therapist, I took her on those programs. When I'm doing parenting sessions like this, she will be right here. I miss her. She'll be right here sitting down beside me and listening. Whether it's interesting or not is not the point. That's not the point. That's not what I was trying to get achieved. But today, she's in the media space. Today, she has spoken home and abroad internationally, and she was paid for her jobs. She speaks beautifully, wonderfully well. And her grades are phenomenal. For me, it's never the grades. For her, she was doing well with her grades, but she was not about the grades. She's a creative. She's a dancer. She's a DJ. She's a musician. She creates beats. Now, is it in the school that they groomed her to be a DJ? Is it in the school that they groomed her to create beats? Is it in the school? No, I had to go and find a private DJ. I had to go and find somebody that would teach her how to create beats. She wanted to learn the guitar. I had to go and get people to, you know, I had to invest. So when people complain about how expensive school fees are, I just begin to think that school fees is the basic minimum.
Wow.
School fees is, you're just starting when you pay school fees for your child. You're just starting. You pay for school fees, you pay for extracurricular activity. Okay, they will do music lesson and they will play football and they will do all that stuff. That's the basic thing. You're just starting for the term. So you're not just gathering money to pay school fees and at the beginning of the term. How about what you're going to do with your child? How about the books you're going to buy in the house for your child to read? How about the materials and the tools you're going to have them to do? How about the places you're going to drive them to and make them learn other things over and beyond what is inside the curriculum? Why must you stick to the curriculum of the school?
Of the school.
Because we are competing globally. We are local, but we are competing globally at international standards. And we want our children to know the very minimum. Your child will be able to have a conversation with a child in Singapore and be able to make sense. Your child must be able to engage a child that is in another country around the world and be able to communicate effectively. Your child should not be able to speak to another child and be intimidated. Your child should not have to go to another place and change their accent.
Can you say that again?
You yourself are changing your accent, you're not proud of your accent. Your child does not have to go to another country and change their accent. But you yourself change your accent because you don't believe you're good enough. You don't believe your accent is good enough. You go to America, you have American accent. You go to India, Indian accent. China, Chinese accent. You are confused. So you transfer that confusion to your children. Now, if you listen to the average, typical Indian person or Chinese person, no matter where they go in this world, they sound the same.
They sound the same. They still have
no matter where they go, they sound the same. They even dress the same. They don't care what is going on around them. How many Indians do you see forcing a Nigerian accent? How many? How many? But when you are not confident in who you are, now I lived in the UK for almost 20 years. I can easily be blowing for you, and I can do it. I know how to do it. But once I realized during my A levels that it was only the Nigerian children, the few of us in class, that were trying to blow for and biting our tongues, whereas the Chinese children in the classroom and the Indian children, they were consistent with the way they were speaking. That was ringing a bell for me many years ago. And I said, you know what? As long as I work on my diction, as long as I work on my accents, you know, I don't want to become British. I want to be a Wole Soyinka that speaks with an African accent, but has beautiful, you know, is a beautiful orator. I want to be a Chimamanda that speaks eloquently without anybody's accent. But we're so confused. They will be bringing out our diction teachers. They will do all stupid diction courses here and there. Your children will be speaking, my name is, and they were proud of it. Because I started at the beginning that the average parent has self-esteem issues. And now that I might offend people. The average parents, they don't know what they want. They don't know what their children need. You know, some of them will even tell their children, speak like this, behave like this, wear this. That is how they groom their children, because they're not confident. They're not confident. Your child should be able to go anywhere around the world and be consistent. But do you go around the world and you're consistent? Are you even proud to be an African? Can you braid your hair like this? Can you go out without actually wearing weave on? Has anybody seen your natural hair before? Are you confident enough to carry your natural hair? A lot of people can't even carry their natural hair. They're not proud to be Africans. They are bleaching here and there to the point now that they are bleaching babies and relaxing their hair. We're not even, I was saying this, it's a self-esteem issue. A lot of people that have inadequate self-esteem are parenting children. You have inadequate self-esteem, what are you doing with the child? You're going to mess that child up. And that is why the society is the way it is today. Children are messed up, parents are messed up, all sorts of things are happening around in the society. So it's the parents. I don't know how I'm going to correct it. The government they will need to get a particular section where parenting is going to be a core. When you're doing marriage counseling, they should also make sure parenting education is mandatory for those that want to have children. Even if they don't want to have children, let it also be mandatory, so that if they change their mind, they will at least have an idea of parenting. It is not innate, it is to be learned. I have devoted my life to learning about parenting, and I'm still doing it even now that my daughter has given left the home. I'm not going to stop doing it because I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate about empowering the next generation to get it right. A lot of people don't have self-esteem. Some people have jackpot because their friends jackpot. They jackpot because somebody else said, you're still in Nigeria, go, go, go. But they don't want to go. They have businesses here, they have solid roots here, but because everybody is going, no self-esteem, they will follow. Now, if you are doing follow for jackpot, what do you think your children will do? What do you expect them to do? When they say that you are really bad, you cannot stand on your own 2 feet, you're just doing anything you want. Of course. That's why they go abroad and they have issues, friendship groups. They are friends with A today, friends with B today, friends with C today. If you're speaking to your child all the time and you see that your child is changing friendship, the child is already battling a social issue. Do they have friends that they can pray with? Do they have friends that they can relate with? That the relationship that they have is not based on the songs that they hear or social media or all those type of things that cannot get them rooted and grounded. Today, this their friend, they want to belong to this group. They want to belong to that group. They want to belong to that group. I've seen children, I even know of girls that their parents are on this Instagram. I'm connected to them on the Instagram. And their parents are screenshotting and putting things. And I'm seeing another side of them, of their children. They have no clue. Their children are doing X, Y, and Z, and you're posting X, Y, and Z. Are you confident enough to say that this is my child and this is what they're doing? There's a mismatch. I've called the parents before, they say, that kind of thing. I've had that kind of thing, and I said, fine. I will not even argue with you. It's your child, it's your own assignment. And that's if I feel like that's why I even feel, if I love you enough to even call you. A lot of people are going to be looking at you. Just be looking at you because the children have taken parents as fools. And the parents are actually behaving as such. They have taken them for granted. And the parents, just because they want to brag, they want to put them on social media and they want to put themselves and say, okay, my child is not like that one that the child gave birth or whatever. They will just accept anything.
I can sense the passion in what you are saying. And the truth is, this parenting can be overwhelming for a lot of people. And I can imagine a lot of in this Insta Live session wondering that, okay, if they really are going to be introspective, they realize that they are not doing well. And so my last question to you, because I know time is fast spent, is this.
Yeah.
The next 30 days, I want to be intentional in the next 30 days. In the next 30 days, where can I start from? My kids are not yet 13, they are not yet 12, they are still sub 10. What are the things I need to pay attention to? What is the starting point for me? I have not done the job of a parent the way I should. Everything you have said today, I am at fault in that regard. Speaking as that person, what can I begin to do in the next 30 days to get things right and to switch?
What you can do in the next 30 days, if you have not been parenting effectively and you want to do a better job, there are a number of things that you do. The first is admitting it. Well done if you have admitted it. The second is to humble yourself and understand that it's a learning curve. Follow the people that are doing the parenting that you desire. Follow the family like those. Follow people that is what they've devoted their time to doing. Follow them. Buy their courses. Parenting meetings are always the least attended. If I did a parenting, I've had people come here talk about financial intelligence for parents and stuff like that kind of thing. And I will be getting hundreds of people in my life. But when you're doing this type of 50, 60, you now see, you'll be struggling with numbers because people don't take it. But if I say how to make in 30 days, how to make 10 million in 30 days, this place, in fact, Instagram will even complain about the number of people that are joining. That is because our priorities are actually wrong. I have online courses, they're parenting online courses. Buy them. Buy them. Don't buy their shoebi. Don't buy that transparent shoe that is raining. Don't buy that car. Don't go and, people will spend time checking the chassis number of cars. They want to know whether it was accidented or it was a flawed car. They want to know everything about the car. They want to buy handbag. They want to know the number of the bag to know whether it's authentic or not. But they don't pay that much attention to their children. They don't pay that much attention to their children. So you need to engage, follow somebody, follow who knows road, as they say. Follow somebody that knows the way. Follow somebody that has evidence. They have evidence of doing this thing very right. They have testimonials of people doing it right. Buy their courses. Buy books. I ask people, when was the last time you brought a parenting book, or do you even own a parenting book? You see that a lot of people don't even have it. Okay, you don't have it, or why are you not following those people that are doing it? Why are you not joining that WhatsApp group? Do you have a WhatsApp group and for parents that we're just beginning to grow? Because I know that the need is there. I have a Facebook group for parents that, you know, I talk about parenting almost every other day. So why can't people engage? There's no excuse not to get it right. You know, people say there's no parenting handbook. There are parenting handbooks. Yeah. It's an ignorant statement to say that there's no parenting handbook. Every child is different. Every child is different and unique, but you will find some kind of resource that will be ideal for your own unique child. Stop making excuses that your child is so different, or we can't use the same method. We cannot. Even in the classroom, we differentiate. Every child has an individual education plan. They learn differently. They work differently. They do things differently. However, we still have a guide of how we're going to teach the children. You can't just come and begin to do anything that you want. You can't just do that. You must follow processes. So find out. Ask family like doctor, okay, you've talked about this. Do you have any resources that I can use? I can begin to help my child. Okay, but do you have any resources that but people are proud. They think they can do it. Did my parents do parenting? Did my parents did they do all that? Did my parents do that after all they raised me and blah 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 blah. If you have that mindset, then whatever results that you get, then embrace it. Don't complain to anybody. Just cry alone. Cry alone. Despite the fact that I went to study and I've paid so much money in educating myself in the aspect of parenting, I'm still in parenting groups. I still buy books. I still buy resources. I'm constantly learning, irrespective of the fact that it is what I actually do. I can't stop learning. I can't see a parenting book on a shelf. My eye will enter it. My books, I have over 1,000 books, not just for parenting, but that is me because I believe in personal development. Oh my God! When I said it one time, somebody said I was lying, and I put it online. I put it online. It's there. I put my library. I have 3 libraries. 3 libraries. Whether I've read 10 pages from one or not, I am addicted to development, to expanding my life. If I'm looking for something, my first spot of call is not always Google. I have a book. I have a home remedy. I have something to address it.
Wow. Well, I can't count the number of exclamations and even the number of that I've said. I'm a family practitioner, but there's so much value you have added in this session. And it's just because, you know, someday in the future, I want to be able to invite you again. Otherwise, I'll say, let's just continue, but we have to respect time. Thank you so much. Let me just tease out a few things that you have said to our audience. No substitute for time when it comes to parenting. You cannot outsource parenting. There is no substitute. You cannot outsource parenting. If something is important to you, you will make out time for it. When you are raising your kids, one of the things you want to do is to establish rapport. Where rapport is present, anything is possible. Don't forget that. All things are possible. Where rapport is present, all things are possible. And so many times, children are looking for connection. If you can establish a connection with your kids before they turn, 8, 9, 10, all right, a bulk of your work is already done. Don't forget about the importance of play. Play is actually the work of children, because sometimes as parents, people think being parents is just about being, heavy, high-handed and being a police and all of that. Yes, you should put limitations, restrict, but don't forget that children are in the business of play. So make out time to play with your kids, and playing with them is one of the ways by which you establish rapport. You are the first teacher of your child. The school, the principal, the teacher is the second teacher, and so you must create experiences for your child to learn. For example, our guest spoke about how she traveled with her daughter to I think you said you went to Greece, and just by going on certain tours, exactly, you had wonderful history lessons. There is no substitute. I can tell you for free, I have 3 kids. There is just something about the experience you create for your kids to learn. You create memories that they will never forget, and you score heavy points and make huge emotional investments. You make huge deposits into their emotional bank account. They have love languages. They have personalities. Yes. And so you should know your child's love language. And then I asked the question about what you can do in the next 30 days. And the first thing our guest said is, first, you have to admit, all right? You have to realize. We say something in medicine that when there is insight, then you're on your way to transformation. So if somebody realizes that I have a mental health problem, then you are on your way to solution. And so if you know that your parenting style, or you don't have a parenting style, that is the first step. The next thing is humble yourself. Humble yourself and follow who know road. In other words, look for people that are, parenting coaches, or people that, they've done the job, and you from what you can see, they've done well. Sit with them, learn from them. Invest in parenting. There is no substitute for it. I'll share a personal example. At the beginning of the year, I think sometime around February, my wife and I, we signed up with, somebody I call a super coach. I'm sure Ronke Poshe knows the person I'm talking about. We signed up with Press Forward, for a course really on parenting, and it was a huge investment actually. But there is no putting a monetary value to what we learned through that process and how we're able to create systems. There's no substitute for investing in parenting. Buy courses. Follow Ronke Poshe. Please follow her. She's on Instagram at Ronke Poshe. There are many materials she has on parenting.
Follow Ronke Poshe at your own risk. I tell people at your own risk. I tell people that I'm not about the numbers. There are people that I personally even remove from my timeline. I want to have a community of parents that are doing the job. You see, there's no point coming to entertain people online. I work damn hard to do what I do every day. I'm a very busy person, and I'm giving freely of my time. So if you are there and you're there to come and fight, or I'm not saying that you cannot bring your own perspective, but I actually drop bombs. I drop things that people are uncomfortable with, and you have to actually think, because I'm a critical thinker. So I expect people to think critically. If you are lazy in the mind or in the brain and you don't want to use it, then my page is the wrong page for you. And that's it. So I'm not looking to have 100,000 followers and we are just, we are doing things to tickle people. No, we're investing in the future of our children. We want to get it right. We have the greatest mandate, the greatest assignment from God. So we're not here to dilly-dally. This is not coding. This is not, I'm not working with files. I'm working with lives. So you must understand that the job is heavy. So if I come here and I post something that's unpalatable for you, let's talk about it. Let's see. And in our conversations, you learn, I learn, and we both grow. Do you understand? But coming in and just saying, oh, if your child does this, oh, don't, all those pancake, powder it up and everything. It doesn't happen on the page. The parents here, they're doing a good job. They're getting it right. They're putting in the work. I have too many testimonials. Too many. I've done this thing for 15 good years. So I know, 16 actually, 16 years. And even prior to that, I was working with children non-formally. So I know what I'm talking about. I'm a mind coach. I work with the mind of people. I can analyze human behavior in different ways. I can see and analyze a lot of things. I understand so many things about anxiety, about the digital age, so many challenges that we have today. So I'm not here to just come and tell you one silly thing that I picked off Google. I'm not even someone that works off Google. If you check my content, you will know that it's not necessarily Google thing. I like to share things that are experiential and factual. So if you can't deal with that, my page is not your page. I've offended a lot of people. My posts offend people. My posts offend people. I've had a celebrity come to my page. I'm talking about homework. You know how they come to and they slag off schools and they say, oh, they're giving us project that is too much for my children. I'm the one doing the homework, and they have a lot of following, and they will say something like that, and they're leading people astray. And I put there in the comment section that this is an ignorant statement that you're making, and your people are following you. You shouldn't be making loose statements like this. You can't just say that, oh, they made you do this. You don't understand the outcomes, what they are looking for in the school when they give your child certain projects. And you must, as a parent, be willing and able to engage in the projects of your children. You're not supposed to just give them a project and then go and do it. There's a reason for it. People don't just do things in school just for the sake of it. Those that understand the education, they do it right. And they're giving your child a project and you're on social media complaining about it and you're proud of it. You should be ashamed of yourself. So I've also said online before that everybody is not my customer. Not everybody is welcome at the Poshe School. Another person with huge following, I can buy exactly 634,000 following, came for me. And I said, I make no apology. I said, I'm discriminating. I'm being proud. I'm not being proud. I want people that want to get it right. Don't come and use your child to decorate in the school and we won't get any change. And then the child will be saying they're Poshe, and then they'll go outside and behave anyhow, and we're not even proud of the behavior. What's the point? If you're a parent that wants to beat teachers, slap teachers, bribe teachers, all those sort of things, we don't want you at the Poshe. And I don't think that any school should want parents like that. But unfortunately, they take them because of the money. So I'm unapologetic about it. Not everybody is our customer. You know, we have a unique selling point. They will tell you whatever you are selling, even if it's potato or plantain you are selling, they will tell you you must. If you sell to everybody, you sell to nobody. And that's why many of these schools, you will see that there are many nobodies being created. Children are just issues here and there, here and there, here and there, because they have not nailed down the core of their audience.
Amazing. Let me give you the final word. What's the final word you have as we...
Before the final word, somebody asked about the child's temperament. I mean, it's deeper than that. Maybe you can send a DM, but it's something that you can also Google. So let me not even use that one to even bamboozle you.
Okay.
You can
How
also
do
find
you
it
know
on
your child's temperament?
Yeah.
Okay. There are tests.
Someone asked about that. There are tests that you can take online and
You can do.
Get it. So thank you very much. My final words are not. I always tone down on my final words. When I speak to people, people say, "Oh, she's not so harsh. She's not so." Whatever I do it because I love you. And I may not have seen you or met you before, but I do it because I love you and I love your children. And I believe that they're the people that can make a difference in Nigeria. So I might come across as strict or this or that, but the truth is I do it in love. I do it from a place of love. And I do it because there's an urgency for us to do things right. Our children out there, they're going helter-skelter. They're losing their minds. They are even dying from suicide and murders and all sorts of things that are happening. I mean, there was a session I saw a couple of days that I was invited. I couldn't make it. But the title was Drug Use amongst Wealthy Kids in Lekki. That was what the Zoom meeting was. You know, we're losing our children. We can't continue like this. And that's why I get angry. When you see me very disgruntled like this, is because I'm very angry that our children can ever become what it is that we see today. So it's very sad. Those are my final words. I thank you for inviting me. Thank you for the honor. Thank you for giving me the time. Even though I was running away here and there, I'm usually like that. People always say, "Oh, why is she?" I can be like that a couple sometimes. Yeah, I'm not a phone person per se. So I run away from stuff like that, but I'm always happy to do the job, and I hope that I've been able to bless you in one way or the other. Let's do this thing. Let's get it right. Let's get parenting right, and we will. And God will give you the grace to do it well. God will make sure that your own children are different, that your own children make a difference, whether they're even in their 30s or 40s, that they will make a difference, that the sacrifices that you've made, they will add up and they will make sense. That's my prayer for every parent that is here and those that are watching the replay, that God will give you the grace to get it right. And you will. You have the capacity to get it right. So just keep learning, unlearning, relearning. Thank you so much and have a wonderful night.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. God bless you, ma. Thank you for being a part of this.